Hello everyone and welcome back to EV Country, where we explore what it's like to live with an electric car when you live out in the boonies. Today I want to explore a little bit the topic of what it's like to charge your electric car to full versus what it's like to fill up your gas car. So this morning I filled up our Toyota and we were sitting at about half a tank, and it took me about 4 minutes. And this is a question I often get asked when people ask about our electric car. How long does it take to charge to full? I think because people are thinking about things in terms of a gas car. You drive it until it's empty, you fill it up, and you keep driving. But that's not how things work in an electric car. The answer to the question, though, is it depends on how you charge the car, what type of outlet you're using to charge the car. If you use a 3-prong 120 volt outlet, you're looking at about 4 miles of charge added per hour, which, depending on your state of charge when you plug in, might take you several days. But if you have a more powerful outlet somewhere, a dryer outlet, a NEMA 1450 like we have in our garage, you're looking at something closer to 20 or 30 miles of range added per hour. That will charge our car from 0 to 90% in about 6.5 hours. Now, people usually say, well, that's a long time. How do you wait that long for your car to be ready to go? Well, that's not really how it works. Usually, we get done at the end of the day driving, and we plug in, we go to sleep, we wake up, and the car is ready to go. So it's not like a gas station in that you have to wait for the car to be charged unless you're on a road trip. That's a whole different story. If you're on a road trip, you might have to wait 20, 30 minutes if you're at a DC fast charging station, sometimes up to an hour, depending on your state of charge and depending on the car that you have. Now, I will say this. Yes, it takes 5 minutes to fill up a tank of gas, and it takes 30-ish minutes to fully to charge the car to a usable range when you're on a road trip. But I can tell you from experience, over 4 years and just over 72,000 miles that we've put on our car, we have only had to wait once in that entire time period, one time. And what I mean by wait is sit around and monitor the state of charge on our app, go out and check the car, make sure things are still plugged in and everything is working, and wait for us to have enough range for the rest of the day. That has only happened one time that I can think of in 4 years and 72,000 miles. We were up north in Wisconsin, and we had to sit and wait for our car to have enough charge for us to get to my aunt and uncle's house. And then we ended up plugging in there. We got all our range back anyway, and then some, so it really wasn't a big deal. It was just one of those things we hadn't really done yet, so we weren't sure what was going to happen, so we wanted to make sure we had enough charge. Now, what has happened more often is that we will get to a supercharger, or if you don't have a Tesla, it would be Electrify America or some other DC fast charging option. And these are usually oftentimes placed at a grocery store or a restaurant or a strip mall or something of that sort. So what usually happens is we will get to the supercharger, plug in, and go in, get some snacks, go to the bathroom. By the time we get our 2 kids to go to the bathroom, wash their hands, and we go to the bathroom and wash our hands, and then we get snacks and go and check out, by that time it's already been 20 or 25 minutes. So there was one specific time we went to a supercharger that was by a restaurant, and we went inside, we got our food after we plugged in, and we came back out and we ate by the car. It was a beautiful day, so we decided to eat by the car. The car was done charging before we were done eating, so we actually had to turn up the max charge level because our sort of strategy is that when we're on a road trip, we don't supercharge past 90% because, number one, it takes a really long time, but number two, it's actually not very good for the battery. So what's more common is situations like that where the car is actually done and ready to go before we are done with what we were doing. Now, can I say that you'll never have to sit and wait at a DC fast charger for your car to be ready to go? No, because there are several factors to consider. It depends on the car you have and the peak speed that it can charge at. So our car is rated at a peak of 150 kilowatts. So that doesn't mean it will charge at 150 kilowatts the whole time. That just means how fast it will charge when it's charging its fastest. So our car is 150. Newer Teslas are 250 kilowatts. The Porsche Taycan is 270 kilowatts. And when the Lucid Air comes out, it's not out yet, they claim it will be able to go 300 kilowatts, which, according to their estimates, will give you 300 miles of range in 20 minutes of charging. The Porsche Taycan will do 0 to 80% in about 22 minutes. So it just depends on the type of car that you have. For our purposes here on this channel and in these videos, the Porsche Taycan and the Lucid Air are not something that we really focus on. The Lucid Air is rated for over 500 miles of range, but you're looking at $139,000 for one of those cars. Now, if you can afford a Porsche Taycan or Lucid Air, I'm not going to knock you. That's awesome, and you should do that. 500 miles of range is awesome, and that will get you literally anywhere. But for the purposes of this channel, what I'm focusing on for comparison is something like a used Chevy Bolt, which you can get for less than $15,000 and will give you a usable range of 238 miles. So the question remains, how long does it take to charge your EV? Well, I think that's the wrong question to ask. I think the question to ask is, how often do you have to sit around and wait for the car to have enough charge for you to carry on with your day? And generally, the answer is we don't. If we're sitting at home, we wake up, it's ready to go. If we're on a road trip, we have other things to do, we might have to wait 10-15 minutes. But generally, we never have to wait. Our car is usually ready to go before we're ready to go. Now, if you're single, if you don't have a family, if it's maybe you're a young couple that doesn't have kids yet, yeah, you might have to wait. But generally speaking, you're not going to spend a whole lot of time waiting for your car to be charged. You're going to be able to jump in and go where you need to go. Okay, so generally speaking, why is it that you don't have to wait for your car? Well, that's because 90+% of the time your car is sitting and you can use those times to charge. Now, that's if you have a car with 250-ish miles of range. Why would you want a car with 250-ish miles of range? Well, it's going to be cheaper. It's a lower price point, lower entry point. So something like a standard range Tesla Model 3 will get 263 miles of range. A Volkswagen ID4 will get 250 miles of range. Even something like a closer to a base model Mustang Mach-E will get 230 miles of range. Those are livable ranges. If you can get something with more range, you probably won't have to consider the things that we're considering in these videos. But if you don't want to spend more money on a longer range car, I totally get it. These cars are expensive because battery technology is expensive right now, and that's only going to continue to go down. But for the moment, if you want to get into something that's a little bit more manageable, you're looking at something with less range. So that's enough of my rambling. I promise in future videos you will actually see us driving our car and the strategies we use to plug in and charge and make sure that we're able to get where we need to go with only 240-ish miles of range. So that's enough for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.